Hello and welcome to our Web Development Level 2 course. In this course we'll be taking a look at arrays and objects, introducing you to JavaScript classes and showing you how to create web requests. We'll use all of these techniques to build a reusable table object, like this one, which can also be filtered. So to get started on our project, let's take a look at arrays in JavaScript and how to use them. An array is essentially a JavaScript object that has been designed to store a collection or list of data in a single variable. If, for example, you want to store a list of information like people's names, a single array is a simpler solution than having a different variable for each name that we want to store. There are many ways to create an array, and which method you choose will depend on your preference, as well as how much you already know about the content or information that the array will contain. For now, we'll stick with the simplest method, which is to use the square bracket syntax, which is then implicitly interpreted as an array, which in this example is currently empty. To populate the array at the same time as we create it, we can simply provide the values inside of those square brackets, separating each of them with a comma. Here we've used strings, but we could store any of the primitive data types, or objects, functions, or make the array multi-dimensional by adding further arrays. To read individual values back out of an array, we use square brackets and provide the position of the particular value we're trying to read. Positioning in JavaScript starts at 0, so to read the first value, we provide a 0 between the brackets, a 1 for the second value, a 2 for the third, and so on. We can take the same approach if we want to update a value within the array and add an assignment, by using an equals followed by the new value. When it comes to adding new values, there are a couple of options available to us, and which one you use will depend on where the value should be inserted. The simplest method is to use the push function, which will add a new value or values to the end of the array, like this. To add multiple values, we can simply comma separate them. If, however, we want to add a value and make it the second value within the array, then we can't use the above approach. Instead, we use the splice method, which can actually be used to add, update, or remove items. To use it, we need to provide up to 3 parameters: the position in the array to start, how many items in the array that we want to remove, and finally any new values to insert at that position. So let's start by adding a value and we'll make it the second item in the array. For this we'll need to provide all 3 parameters, which will be 1 for the start position, a 0 for the number of items we want to delete, and the new value we want to add. If we wanted to update the existing value, we could change the second parameter to a 1, which would effectively remove the value that's currently there and add the new one in its place. And as with the push method, we can add multiple values at the same time by continuing to comma separate them at the end. Note that the number of values to remove does not have to match the number of values being added. So, to that effect, to remove values from an array, we simply omit the third parameter altogether. We can also search arrays for specific values by using the indexOf method, providing the value we want to search for, and optionally at which index we wish to start. If this parameter is omitted, then the search starts at index 0. The result is an integer, which will either represent the index of the first instance that was found, so a number greater than or equal to 0, or -1 if none were found. We'll be using indexOf later in this course. In the next lesson, we'll be taking a look at JavaScript objects and JSON, but first, it's time to write some code and complete some activities.
You can stay up to date with all of our content by subscribing to our YouTube channel or following us on social media. If you'd like to see more from this course, then head over to websy.academy, where you'll find our full set of training courses complete with hands-on activities and much more.